The ghost ship gone wrong. The wind howled through the desolate harbor, sending a shiver down my spine as I gazed upon the eerie silhouette that loomed before me. A ship wreathed in legends and whispered tales of terror. The aptly named Specter was infamous among sailors, a ghost ship that had vanished without a trace years ago, only to resurface now, anchored in this forgotten port. They said the crew had perished under mysterious circumstances, their souls now forever trapped within its cursed wooden frame. Against the advice of my fellow sailors, I had volunteered to board the ship and uncover the truth behind the rumors. With lantern in hand, I stepped onto the creaking gangplank, my heart pounding as if it had a life of its own. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, the kind that makes you question your every step. As I set foot on the ship's deck, a shiver ran down my spine. The wood beneath my boots felt like a living thing, cold and damp. The lantern's feeble light flickered, casting dancing shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. The ship's rigging groaned in the wind, like the mournful wails of lost souls. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. My flashlight pierced the darkness as I descended into the belly of the ship, its narrow corridors stretching like a labyrinth. The air grew colder, and I pulled my coat tighter around me, despite the sweat that prickled my brow. Every corner seemed to hold a sinister secret. Every creak and groan of the ship whispered a warning. I stumbled upon the crew's quarters, the beds still unmade as if they had just left moments ago. The ghostly remnants of their lives lingered, playing cards scattered across a table, an unfinished game frozen in time. But the eerie atmosphere was tinged with an odd sense of humor. A pair of mismatched socks lay discarded on the floor, a testament to the normalcy that had once existed here. As I moved deeper into the ship, I encountered a room that sent shivers down my spine, a room filled with mirrors. The reflections were distorted, showing twisted versions of myself, grinning malevolently or staring back with hollow eyes. Laughter echoed around me, a chilling, mocking laughter that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Panic clawed at my throat as I stumbled back, my heart racing. I continued my exploration, driven by a strange mix of fear and curiosity. I reached the captain's quarters, the door hanging slightly ajar. With a deep breath, I pushed it open, revealing a scene that froze me in my tracks. The captain's skeletal remains sat slumped at his desk, a captain's hat perched atop his skull. In his bony fingers, he clutched a journal, its pages filled with the desperate scrawlings of a mind unhinged. I started to read, and the words that filled the pages sent a chill down my spine. The captain had gone mad, driven to insanity by the whispers that echoed through the ship's walls. He spoke of seeing faces in the shadows, of hearing voices that weren't there. He wrote of the crew's gradual descent into paranoia and madness, the ship itself seemingly feeding off their fear. A sudden, guttural sound behind me made me spin around, my heart leaping into my throat. There in the doorway stood a figure clad in tattered rags, its face obscured by shadows. My breath caught in my chest as the figure advanced, its movements unnatural, like a marionette being pulled by invisible strings. I stumbled backward, my flashlight flickering as if protesting against the terror that surrounded me. The figure's voice was a hiss, a mixture of rage and sorrow, as it spoke of the crew's torment, of the agony they had endured. It spoke of the ship's insatiable hunger for fear, its need to consume the souls of the living. I turned and ran, my footsteps echoing through the corridors as if chasing after me. The ship seemed to twist and writhe, the walls closing in on me, the laughter growing louder and more menacing. My mind raced, thoughts jumbled in a whirlwind of panic, until I burst through the door onto the deck. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the ship. The figure followed me, its shadowy form stretching and contorting in the moonlight. I stumbled, my foot catching on a loose plank, and I fell to my knees. The figure was upon me, its cold fingers closing around my throat. But then a gust of wind swept through the air, carrying with it the faint scent of salt water and freedom. The figure's grip faltered, its form unraveling like mist in the breeze. The ship itself seemed to shudder, as if waking from a long slumber. And then, with a deafening roar, the Specter began to crumble, its timbers splintering and breaking apart. I scrambled to my feet, my heart racing as I sprinted back down the gangplank. Behind me, the ship groaned and wailed, a symphony of despair and release. And then, in a blinding flash of light, the Specter was gone, leaving behind only the memory of its horrors. As I caught my breath, I looked out at the empty harbor, the wind now carrying only the soft sighs of the sea. The sun began to rise, casting a warm and reassuring light over the world. And as I walked away from that cursed place, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of gratitude for the terrors I had faced and the stories I could now share, a survivor of the ghost ship gone wrong.